something to try, something new. If you didn't like what you used last Saturday, try something new. They're available. Get them. Recovery drinks, which she just sort of touched on. We're getting into the long runs. Bring your recovery drink with you. You can even freeze it the night before so it's not lukewarm. But as soon as we finish these long runs, get that recovery drink in you. You have a 45-minute window before your muscles and cells shut down and say, screw you, you didn't feed me, you're not going to recover well. So it's you have to be kind to your body and it'll be kind to you. So her cards are here. She's amazing. Reach out to her if you can. So now that we know all about our nutrition, we have to dress for success. And we're having Troy Squire here. He is the manager of the Jackrabbit on the Upper West Side, where we will be meeting for our Saturday run, 8 o'clock at Jackrabbit. And afterwards, he is going to open his store early so you can get your shoe analysis, get your sports bras, get your beans, whatever you need. So take it away.
Yeah, so I'm Troy from Jackrabbit. As you said earlier, you kind of spoiled my joke by saying my last name. It is Squire, but there's only one Troy at Jackrabbit, so that's my business card.
How many Squires are there?
How many Squires? There's a few. I met a few in the city. So yeah, that's the nutrition thing. One thing I think about a night like this is mostly it's just an introduction. Marathon is sort of like a journey, and training for a marathon is a journey. Before we asked how many people had never done a marathon before, like everybody's hand went up. But how many people have done a marathon? And have you done more than one? Yeah. No. So I remember when I decided to do my first marathon, and the goal was do a marathon, check it off the list, and then I would never have to run another marathon again. But it didn't really go like that. And so after I ran my first marathon, I went back and ran another. I've been doing one or two every year since then. So I'm up to about 15 marathons now. But the point is now when I talk to people who are doing their first marathon, I'm like, you got to remember it's your first marathon. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's really just research for your second marathon. I know you weren't thinking about it like that. You were thinking about like this is a great accomplishment, but actually you're going to do this marathon, and of course afterwards you're going to say, that was great, I'll never do that again, but trust me, like a month or two later, maybe I could do it again, maybe I could go a little faster, that's what happens. I'm sorry to say, you're part of a cult now. It's really hard to get out. But yeah, how many people, so I work at Jackrabbit Sports, running a specialty store here in New York City. We have 4 locations. The original, Brooklyn, Parksville, Brooklyn. And then we have Union Square, Upper East Side, and then the newest store is the Upper West Side. That's where I work. The whole company is 10 years old. Our store is 2 years old. How many people have heard of Jackrabbit Sports? That's great. Really glad. I like working at the store. I've been working there for about 5 years, and I really enjoy it. I think it's a nice atmosphere. If you like running, it's a good place to hang out. It's a good place to work. If you haven't heard of us, come on in. It's part of your hobby now. Of course, we stay in business by selling stuff, but everybody who works there, the reason why I got the job in the first place is because I started running, and I went to art school, so none of my friends are athletes, and so I started doing this running thing. It was nice to be somewhere where I could talk to people about running, and then when I got a job there, I could just talk to people about running all day. So that's the kind of people we hire. If you want to come in and just talk about running, or talk about follow up about nutrition, follow up about shoes. You can't stand here in the beginning of your 16-week training program and be like, okay, this is everything I need for November 3rd. Is that the date? November 3rd. So it's going to be like you're going to discover things. So you run 8 miles so far on your Saturday run. I think that's pretty impressive, actually. If you're running 8 miles now, you'll be running 26 miles in 60 days from now, for sure. But there's things you're going to discover when, I remember when I was training for a marathon and for the first time, and I'd never run more than 6 or 7 miles. And so every weekend you're going out and you're PRing, you're running further than you've ever run before. You're going to find out, you have to do a long run in the rain. How is that going to go? You have to do a long run in the heat. How's that going to go? So every time you go out, that's just like research. Some days are going to go well, and some days are not going to go well, but that's good. you know, those terrible training runs are gonna help you get through the marathon. Bad training run is like good luck for the race. That's a good sign. You're gonna learn something and you're gonna come back and do it differently. So you're gonna be prepared for the race. You know, hopefully you'll get some runs in bad conditions. So then November 3rd, when the weather's nice, it'll feel good. And it usually is. Somehow we always luck out. As long as I've been in New York City, every marathon Sunday, it's always real nice.
Don't leave, it could be our good luck charm.
I'm not going anywhere. You know. Oh yeah, that was my other joke that I forgot to tell. I just got back from vacation in Michigan, so I'm not going to talk quite as fast as Lauren. I'm on lake time. But just to go through some of the products we sell at the store, again, there's like essentials, and then there's like optional things. So essentials are really the shoes. You know, when you come in on Saturday, basically that's what I'd encourage everybody to get. Yeah, you know, over the course of the training, there's some things you're gonna buy, like the nutrition, and there's some things you're gonna have to replace. But really, to get you started, the one thing you really need is shoes. This is a typical running shoe. They're generally shiny or really brightly colored these days. That's just fashion. Really what a running shoe is all about is being lightweight. It's light meshy material on the top, so it's breathable, and it's not heavy. And then it's cushioned underneath, so it's going to give you some protection from the ground. This is a $100 basic Brooks Ghost running shoe. It's one of our most popular models. It's soft and it's flexible. You know, it feels nice and smooth when you're running in this. There's another kind of shoe out there in the world. It's called a stability shoe. This is a stability shoe. It doesn't look a whole lot different. That's a men's shoe. This is a women's shoe. That's a Brooks. This is a Saucony. But the technological difference is right here underneath the arch. You see that gray rubber through the arch? It's a denser rubber. It's called a medial post. It means this shoe will flex up front, but it's stiffer underneath the arch. So how do you know if you should be buying a neutral shoe or a stability shoe? That's something we can do for you at Jackrabbit. We'll watch you run in the neutral shoe. If it looks like you're out of control, if you're rolling around and you don't look good, we can put you in a more controlling shoe. So not everybody needs this, but we can find out if you do. That's, again, if you're a new runner, or if you're not a new runner, you've never had that done, it's probably a good idea to find out which category you belong in. I brought a couple other shoes just for fun. This is a racing flat. How is it different? It's just a lot lighter. You know, it's real flexible and light. You're not going to train in this. If you train in this for a marathon, you know, you're getting up to running like, what, 50 miles a week in your program, maybe a little bit more. You're going to need to buy another pair of these every week. That's not a very good value. This costs $100 and it'll last for maybe 100 miles. This costs $100 and it's going to last 400 or 500 miles. Some people, I could use some people on the wall here as an illustration, are going to run their races in racing flats because they're competitive, and this gives them a slight advantage in the race. Most people are not going to run their races in racing flats. They're going to run it in the same shoe they trained in. You run hundreds and hundreds of miles in your Brooks Ghost. You know it works. You know you love it. So for race day, you're just going to wear your Brooks Ghost. You know, the comfort of this shoe is much more of an advantage to you than the lightness of that shoe. You know, trying to, you know, your feet being comfortable at the end of 26 miles is much more important than, you know, the slight amount of time you can shave off. Plus, it's your first marathon, so for your second marathon, you can buy those. This is just a conversation starter, that's why I brought them. You're not allowed to buy these, so if you want to hang out afterwards and talk about why we sell these, you can. If you've seen them on people's feet and you're interested, but you're not allowed to buy those. There's a place for them, but not really, you know, with marathon training. That's not the place for you, I don't think. So get yourself a good pair of running shoes. That's essential. And then the second most essential thing, kind of working our way up from the bottom to the top, is socks. Okay. When you are exercising, you want to avoid wearing cotton. Okay, cotton is very comfortable until you start sweating or until you get wet at all. Cotton doesn't do a good job at wicking. Okay, so it doesn't pull the moisture off your body. That's going to, you know, part of the reason why you sweat, or the reason why you sweat, you get hot, though you sweat, the water evaporates off of your body, and that cools you down. If the water doesn't evaporate off of your body, you're not going to cool down, you're just going to be sitting there in your wet t-shirt. So you do want to wear either synthetic materials, these are synthetic socks, or actually wool. Wool is actually a good wicking material. People don't think about wool to cool them down, but that wicking action is going to cool you down. And it's going to keep you dry. If your feet are wet or your body is wet, you're going to be much more susceptible to blistering. You know, any problems that you might have, this is why you train for a marathon, any problems you might have on your 8-mile run or your 13-mile run are really going to be magnified on your 26-mile run. So you want to avoid, you know, foot discomfort, blistering, chafing. Get good socks, so good shoes, good socks, and then you're pretty much in business. I mean, honestly, that's your starter pack. We can sort of go up from there. I said you want to be wearing wicking material all over your body. So like denim cutoff shorts, not really good for running. You're discouraged that, okay? You want to get a pair of like lightweight synthetic running shorts. These are running shorts for women. You know, I didn't bring the whole store, just one example of a stylish and functional running short for women. These are some running shorts for men. All right, a little bit different style. And then these are running shorts for, any yes? Is it for men? You know, just a different style. Again, some people up there on the wall are going to be running in the 2-inch foot short. Some people are going to be running in the 9-inch. This is what Matthew McConaughey wears when he goes out running with Lance Armstrong. So that's just a question of style. They're both acceptable running shorts. They're both non-cotton. They're both wicking. They're both be cool if you're sweating or if it's wet out. That's just a question of your own personal style. You know, same with tops. We got a million tops. This is my favorite. You know, later on when you come up here, you can feel the material. It's just super lightweight. It's like being naked.
I own that. It's really good.
Yeah, the Saucony is my favorite. You know, just another example, a slightly different material. A lot of the material now, it's actually really nice. We're like living in the golden age of running apparel and shoe technology. It feels soft and cottony to the touch, but it's actually synthetic material. You know, this is essential, really just for the women in the room. I'm not going to go on too long about sports bras. All of our staff at Jackrabbit are trained. You know, they're trained to do shoe fits. They're trained to fit sports bras. So you can come in and talk to anybody. You know, Lauren did a good job of saying this is stuff you want to get figured out now. You don't want to be coming in the week before the marathon and saying like, I get a lot of chafing around here when I wear my sports bra. Come in and figure out right away so you can train with that. You know, this is the starter package, the shoes, the socks, and for women I would say sports bras is something you want to figure out right away. A lot of women don't want to go through it because they feel like it's a long process and it's a little bit intimidating, but you know, it's really not so bad. We got people who can help you with that, and you know, you do it once, then you know what you wear. Same with shoes. You do it once, then you know what you wear. You know you like the Brooks Ghost? Just come back and buy the Brooks Ghost. You just figure it out once. Yeah. So actually, we talked a lot about chafing. I just brought a couple other props. Body Glide. This is sort of essential. Just a lubricant. Goes everywhere on your body where you might chafe. At some point along the way in your training, you'll discover the places that you do chafe, and then you come by some Body Glide and put it on those places. I'm surprised that Lauren didn't mention the hydration belts. In the New York City Marathon, really well organized event, they will give you water, I believe every mile after mile
After
to race. And so they're going to be giving you water in the race. You don't have to worry about carrying your own water. But in training, especially when it's 95 degrees out, it's like it's totally different running when it's 95 versus when it's 65 or 55. 55 is super comfortable. You can run 10 miles and not drink anything. But 95, you're going to be drinking constantly. So make sure you find some way of carrying water or getting hydration. I mean,
I'm sorry, what's the weight of when the whole thing's filled on that?
I don't know the answer to that question. That is a good question. Each of these bottles is 8 ounces. I don't know what the total weight would be. I mean, with no water in it, it's really light. It's very comfortable. You would never know if you have it on. But if you put water in it, it's true. It's kind of a pain. Well, you train with that, and then a race, so you don't have to wear it if you like to fly in. The other alternative is to have something like this. The other alternative, you know, in Full of Solutions, is to drink in drinking fountains. If you're always running in Central Park or on the West Side Highway, but those drinking fountains aren't that frequent, especially on a hot day. You know, you might be too far from a drinking fountain to be comfortable, so it's convenient to carry your own water. The other thing to do is bring money with you. bring money and stop at the cart or at a bodega or something like that and buy some water along the way. But again, this way you'll never be without water. Just carry it with you. And then the spy belt also, you know, a lot of times one thing that running shorts can never have enough of is pockets. Most of them have a small pocket in the back or right here in the front. People always want more pockets. This is the solution to pocketing. It's just a belt that expands to be, you know, much, much bigger. You can fit 3 iPhones in there. Try, so if anybody has 3 iPhones. But yeah, you can fit, you know, 4 or 5 goos comfortably. So you can carry all your, either your goos, your keys, and your iPhone in there. So you don't need to buy a short with like 100 pockets. This is called a SPI belt, SPI belt, small personal item belt. But there's a lot of solutions. You know, again, I didn't bring every product in the store, just
That's
one
a secret
representative
camera.
item. So there's about 4 or 5 companies that we carry that make something like this or some solution to carrying stuff. You can find the one that you like the best. I mean, I bring the SPI belt because I use it.
I have 2 questions actually. With the shoes, is it not a good idea to buy a new pair, like let's say right before the race? Like, is it better
Yeah.
to kind of break it in for a while?
Yeah, great. I mean, thanks for helping me out with questions because you know then I can talk about what you want to talk about. The shoes are good for 400 miles. That's a real number. I mean, they do wear test the shoes in the laboratory, but it's not a precise number. It's going to vary from person to person. If you're a larger person, you're going to have to replace your shoes more often, probably. So that's not going to, you know, if you buy a pair of shoes on Saturday, it's not going to get you through the end of the marathon. You know, you're going to have to replace your shoes probably about a month beforehand. Most people, if they're happy with their shoes, will come in about a month beforehand and buy another pair of the same thing. That's the way you know you like it, you know it's going to work, you know it's going to be fairly fresh on race day, a little broken in but not broken down. So yeah, you are probably going to cycle through 2 shoes, and then, you know, if you want to get really adventuresome, people who are running their 2nd, 3rd, 4th marathon are looking just to like go a little bit faster. Maybe you're not going to buy the same shoe. Maybe you're going to buy a special race shoe. Again, you want to try that out before race day, make sure it's going to work for you. But does that answer your question? Yeah, going to probably cycle through 2 shoes in a marathon training
Okay.
session.
And also those compression socks?
Yeah.
What's the benefit of those?
You know, those are like, so you have your starter kit, which includes the shoes and socks, and then there's like a little bit more, which you probably need, like shorts. Compression socks, you know, I put on that like a 3rd tier. That's why I didn't bring them, because, you know, we don't want to talk about everything. But we can talk about that in the store. Compression socks have caught on. I mean, remember when I first started working at Jackrabbit, we didn't carry them, you didn't see them around. And then when they first started sort of showing up, I thought, you know, this is a trend, but it's going to go away. But it hasn't gone away, and in fact, I've adopted them. I use the compression socks. I don't use them while I'm running. You find that people who run short distances, don't worry about it. People who run long distances, marathons, something you really might want to consider. And people who run extra long distances, like ultra runners, you see a lot, almost on everybody, because it does aid in circulation. If you're on your feet for a very long time and your blood's pooling up down here, you want to get that blood back out here, you know, so it can reoxygenate and pump around the body. That's just going to help you with that. So it is a good idea, you know, it's something you could try. It's also a fashion statement. I wear them not for running. I'm comfortable running a marathon without the compression socks, but I wear them for recovery. When you are training for a marathon, you know, it's not just about that one big run. It's about running, you know, probably 5 times a week. You know, so you need to do your run, and then you need to recover so you can run the next day, and then recover so you can run the next day because you're doing these successive runs. So if you put them on after you run, that's going to support the muscles, improve your circulation, and get you out there to run, you know, your next workout. That's why I use them. Should I wrap up? You're looking at slightly
Well, no,
antsy?
I was just gonna come up and do a duet with you because
Okay.
we are gonna think. But some of the things, just a couple of tips to remember that we are gonna be running through 3 seasons. We started in what should have been spring. We are now deep into summer, and then we'll be going into the fall. So you will be needing, you know, different clothes for all of those. So it's a great time to figure out what works for you, what doesn't. As you experiment with the diet, you will also be experimenting with clothing. What feels good on a 5-mile run may not feel good at mile 20. So again, we always preach keeping a diary. You might find a shirt that you love, but at mile 10, all of a sudden it's chafing, but it didn't at 5. So the longer you're out there on the road, be aware of your clothing as well as your diet. What's working for you, what's not? Do you need more pockets? Do you need a shirt with less seams? Men, be careful of your nipples.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't talk about that, but they will know. Where are you chafing? So again, keep a diary of everything from nutrition and your clothing, because you will be going through a lot of seasons of clothing, a lot of shoes. Socks are critical. Do not overlook socks. I ran London with severe blisters because I had the wrong socks. I should have known better. It's in my diary now. So there's a lot to think about with your clothing, but Troy will be with us through the whole 5 months.
Well, that's what I mean, mostly what I want to emphasize and give you a brief overview and hopefully entertain you a little bit, but just also emphasize that we're a resource for you, so that as you discover things and you realize there's problems out there that you didn't know you had, then we can help you solve those problems and figure it out for you.
Yeah, that's why you joined Tea for Kids, so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, you also
We
have your
the
coaches,
answers.
you know, that's nice. I know when I ran my first marathon, it was, I mean, in a way I'm wistful for those days because I'm like, wow, I was an idiot. I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, I'm a lot better at it now. But, you know, you're going to get the shortcut if you just talk to some people who know what they're doing.
Right, with compression tights, you know, I don't use them during a run, but I tend to get tight calves after a long run, so I'll go home and put on my compression tights, and it works miracles. You know, the next day I'm recovered, whereas if I didn't put them on, I'd be cramping for the next 2 days. So little tips and secrets like that, Troy and everybody here can certainly help them out. So stick around, I'm sure there'll be questions.
Yeah, and that, you know, again, I encourage you, like, for me to talk about shoes in the abstract, it's much more interesting to talk about the right kind of shoes that are right for you. So if you come in, an individual employee can help an individual person sort of figure out what's right for you.
Yeah, and he will do that. I've bought shoes from him.
So if
He
you
will tell you what's
afterwards,
right for
yeah,
you.
afterwards, if you want to talk about specific things, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've covered nutrition, we've covered your clothing. Scott's gonna wrap up later on about training, but I know one of the key things is how do I fit all of this in? This is like a job in itself, training for a marathon. And I know a lot of you out there, you know, probably working 1, maybe 2 jobs. Maybe some of you have spouses, maybe some of you have kids. It's like, how am I gonna get these long runs in, all my runs in my 5 days? There's just not enough time. So that is, you know, marathons, it's one thing we whine about. Marathoners love to whine. Oh, I can't get it all in. So we do have some tips on fitting it all in. It's tough, you know, training for a marathon is like a full-time job. It's juggling everything. So what are some tips that make it a little easier, a little bit more sane for you and the people that you live with? Because this is a journey that everyone that loves you and that you love, they're all part of this journey. And the one thing we don't want to happen during marathon training is that, you know, you become inclusive or exclusive. All of a sudden you're not seeing your friends, you know, your spouse, your partner is getting a little mad at you because you're never around. Your kids are like, what did my mommy look like? So these are some things. First of all, write it down. When you get that schedule Sunday night, put it on all of your calendars, your iPhone, your home calendar. Share it with your significant other, your spouse, share it with your kids. Anyone who needs to know where you are, share it with them so that they know, oh, all right, you know, Monday night they're at training, so that's on the calendar. It'll help you organize your day and everyone around you that needs to be organized around you to write it down. Treat your training runs, your everyday runs, your weekend runs like a business meeting. It is that important. You cannot do a marathon on 2 days of training. 3 days, I don't even want to talk about 3 days. 4 would be the minimal. So it's key. You've invested this time. You're going to be doing fundraising. You want to make sure you get into training. So write it down. Treat it like a business meeting. Time your runs. You know, whenever you can, get your run in. 5 o'clock is early. If you need to get it in at 5 o'clock, you will get used to it. As horrible as that sounds, when you hear that alarm go off, your body will adapt. If that's when you need to do it, that's when you'll do it. If you work at a place that will allow you to run, maybe during lunch if there's a gym and a shower, do it then. Do it after work. If you need coverage, tell somebody, hey, I need to get my run in after work. So arrange for either, you know, babysitting care or whatever it is. Time it, get it done. If you need to run twice a day because you couldn't get your 10-miler in, split it up, 5 and 5. You've got to get it in. Tell everyone, you have to ask for support. Make every step count. As long as you're running for a marathon and trying to stay in shape, take the steps. Don't take escalators. Wherever you can, that'll count. If you're out shopping, park the farthest way from the mall entrance and then walk. And make it a brisk walk. Walk instead of taking the subways if you can. You know, become a walker, become someone who is that person who is always exercising, always thinking of being in training. And we all know when you're training for a marathon, something's got to give. And that's what you all have to decide, what's gonna give. For me, it was a clean house. That was sort of like a no-brainer. Oh, well, house is gonna be messy for 5 months. Figure out what in your life you can live without, what is not that important, do without it. Tell everybody this isn't gonna happen. If you have kids, you know, whoever you're sharing living space with, get them to pitch in. Get them to share the chores that maybe you always did. And the nice thing about this one particular thing is that you will find there's certain things that you thought you could never live without, and once you eliminate that, all of a sudden you don't really even care about that. And maybe there are other things that you'll find you're good at, like multitasking or, you know, giving people different assignments. So, do that. Create a support group. I think this is really key. Training for a marathon is very difficult. It's gonna take a lot of your determination, it's gonna take a lot of your time. So find people that support what you're doing, support your journey, make them part of your journey. Because I'm sure everyone that you tell you're running a marathon, they're in awe of you. I mean, not many people do that, so you are a very special group. If it's your coworkers, get them to, you know, maybe cover you if you have to go on a business trip or you have to do a run or whatever. Your kids, your family, whoever it is, create that support group because you're gonna need them. You know, as it gets towards marathon time, you can have them, you know, maybe plant water bottles for you or create signs for you. These are the people that you are gonna need on race day to be there for you. So during this 5 months, make sure you're there for them as much as you can. You know, maybe you get somebody to, I don't know, cover a chore for you, and then you give them a mile. You tell them you're gonna dedicate a mile of your marathon for them if they become part of your support group. But you will need the help. Which is the final point, is don't be a hero. This is, in the next 5 months, you don't wanna be a hero. You are a hero for other people. We're all human, we have to learn to ask for help to get all of this done. It's gonna create stress if you find that your marathon training is chopping into other parts of your life and you're not getting that support. It's just not a good spot to be. So find the support, find the time that works for you. Ask your coaches if you're having a problem getting in the runs. We'll help you. We've been there before. We all are busy people. We have family, we have lives, we have jobs. I mean, Lauren has 3 kids. Scott's wife is pregnant. I mean, we all are sharing the same time, the same commitments, the same stress as you. And where there's a will, there's a way. If there's a time management tip we haven't thought about, someone else will. Does anyone have a time commitment that they're working on now, that they figured out something already in their training that works or doesn't work for them? The first time we had this, someone raised their hand and she was having a hard time getting up at 5 o'clock. So she had the alarm right next to her bed and she would just hit the snooze. So I said, okay, who can help this person? Well, it really became funny. One person said, we'll set 2 alarms because you're not gonna hit 2 snooze buttons. Someone said, put the alarm on the other side of the room, which forces you to get out of bed to stop it. And it just rolled. So by the end of the night, this woman was like, I couldn't wait to wake up the next morning. So again, on our long runs, when we're together, you know, we are a family. If someone has an idea that's working for you, share it, because that's what a team does. We all share what works and what doesn't work. So time management, critical. If you have a suggestion, send it to me and we'll put it on the weekly training. Scott, run in here. You all know Scott, our head coach. He's the one who has come up with this grueling schedule for you.
With the other 11 coaches' input, we actually sat in this room for the last 2 years now, going over the schedule to kind of see what fits and what works. To give you an idea, the 12 coaches combined, we've got somewhere, I tried to calculate, somewhere between 15 and 20,000 runners that we've taken from point A to the finish line. So when you look at the schedule, it may seem a little strange at points. All I can say is just, if you can, trust it. If you're a little confused, ask any of the mentors that you'll see out at any of the practices. They followed a very similar schedule last year. The schedule, if you were to compare it kind of to what you can find on the internet, what other running groups use, what other charity groups use, the schedule we use for TFK is actually slightly less mileage than most of the other plans you'll find. And the reason for that is we want to make sure we can get you to the starting line healthy and that you can get to the finish line and have enjoyed your experience. You could definitely do less mileage and still finish a marathon. It may not be the most enjoyable 6 or 8 hours of your life though. So it's the whole schedule is built as 3 weeks, kind of building up your mileage, building up your intensity, and then 1 week, we call it a step back week. It's the chance for your body to recover, the chance for you to rest, and the chance to start rebuilding your muscles that you're basically tearing up on these runs on a regular basis. Allows you to come back into that next 3-week build relatively fresh, ready to go, and you build up. There will definitely be points, especially at the end of August and the 3rd week in September, where you feel a little fatigued, a little wore out. That step back week, as soon as you get it, you're going to come back 5 days later and feel much better and ready to go. The schedule is split into 3 groups: beginner, intermediate, and experienced. Beginners meant for anyone who's never done a marathon, anyone who's done a few 5Ks, 10Ks, maybe even a half marathon, anyone who did a marathon 3, 4, 5 years ago, took some time off to come back. Intermediate is that individual who's done 5, 6 half marathons, has an understanding of what their pace is, actually starts racing some events to set new PRs, personal records, to kind of push themselves. And then the experience plan is those who've run a marathon before and are now looking to PR, qualify for Boston, really start to push themselves. If you're kind of unsure of what this marathon thing is, start with the beginner plan and go from there. You'll run on Mondays, which is a day that we use the term slow fosse. Start out slow for your first mile or two, then relatively fast, a concerted effort if you're using a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being all out sprinting, 1 being a quick walk. You'll get up to about a 4 or a 5 on that scale, and then you finish easy, hence the term slow fosse. Tuesday's your rest day. Rest means try to stay off your legs as much as you can. Cross training, if you're gonna do it, Tuesdays are not the worst day to do it. If you're unsure of what your body can do, treat Tuesday as rest. Wednesdays are quality workouts. That's when we'll be doing up-tempo runs, which means that we'll run at a faster pace for maybe a half mile to a mile at a time. It's the day that we'll go up to the track, or it'll be a track workout of doing half-mile repeats. It's the day that you'll do hill repeats. It's the day that you'll do a time trial. A time trial is a set distance that you run. We're gonna do that 4 times this season. First one is scheduled for tomorrow, and it's 3 kilometers, which is about 1.86 miles. You should run that on that effort level of 1 to 10. It should be about an 8. You should be really pushing, really breathing. You should finish and feel like, I could maybe hit the 2-mile mark, but that's it for today. You're gonna write that time down. It's gonna tell you what paces you should train at for pretty much the next month of the season. Then we'll do another time trial at the end of July, September, and October, and you're gonna see kind of your progression through. Thursday is another day where it's slow fosse. It's partially a shakeout to get a little bit more mileage on your legs, release any of the built up issues that you have from the night before, as well as get you ready for the weekend. Friday is a rest day. No matter what, Friday should be a rest. No matter what plan you follow, no matter what kind of your life schedule is, you want to come into Saturday, your long run, the most important run of the week, as rested and recovered as you can. For your long run, it's about finishing the distance. Start out nice and easy, work your way into the run. You should be finishing, ideally, a little bit quicker than you were in the middle. In reality, if you can maintain pace for your long run, that's ideal. If you're walking at the end of your long runs, see one of the coaches if you're at practice, or drop us an email. And if you have a GPS watch or anything like that with mile splits, send it to us, and we'll be able to kind of see if maybe it was just a bad day, maybe it got a little too hot, or you're starting out a little too quick and not able to complete the distance. The biggest question we get is, I have to miss a run, what should I do? If you miss a run, don't try to just kind of stick it in later in the week, especially on a Friday, because ultimately that's just going to fatigue your body and tire your body. If you miss a run, it's fine. It's not detrimental to your training. No single run will get you to the finish line, and at the same time, Gail, have you ever had a runner who's done every single run start to finish?
No.
As a
Not
coach,
even me.
as a coaching staff, we've almost never had anyone that's made every single run for 20 weeks. It just doesn't happen. If you are going out of town, if something comes up, see one of the coaches. Ideally, you'll come to us with your training log, showing all the runs you've done, how you felt after. Like Troy said, what you were wearing should be written in there. Like Lauren said, what you ate that day should be written in there, as well as your life calendar of, I have a wedding in California in 2 weeks, what should I do? And we'll gladly tell you kind of how to move your schedule and make it work. The last day is Sunday, which is a flex day. What that means is, if you normally do your workouts in the morning, get up Sunday morning, throw on some clothes and decide, am I really sore, am I really tired, am I really fatigued? You're staying home, you're resting. I'm a little tired, I feel alright, like I got a little energy, I feel like I should do something, go out for a long walk. You're feeling really good, jump in the pool and do some swimming, get on the bike, go bike around the park, and if you wake up and you don't realize that you did a long run the day before, go out for a jog for the miles that are listed. It's really following your body. And with that, on September 14th, it's a training checkpoint. The schedule, if you looked at the master schedule, says 16 or 18. That's really the chance that you're going to look at what your training is to that point. Have you felt great? Has your body bounced back? Have the runs come relatively easy at a concerted effort? Go for the 18. If you're feeling a little wore down, 16 is your run for that day. You're going to be able to come up. Ultimately, on the beginner schedule, you'll run an 18-miler and then a 20-miler. The intermediate schedule, you'll run up to 21 miles, and the experience schedule, you'll run 22 miles. The reason for that distance is physiologically, once you get over 18 miles, you're not gaining too much. Your body's not going to adapt significantly more, which is why we will not run 26 miles in preparation for the marathon. But there's a huge psychological benefit to running that 20 miles, and that's why it's in practice. And for a lot of people, that 20-mile run is the best run they did in 3 or 4 weeks. Then we'll do what's called the taper period. It's 3 weeks where we decrease the mileage, we decrease the intensity, and we let your body fully recover, fully rebuild. By the 1st of November, you are going to be wanting to run every day, and we're going to tell you not to. It's kind of a crazy thing that you can run for 20 weeks and kind of beat your body up, and then really want to get out. The reason for that is come race day, you're going to be able to run the race, which is 26 miles, faster than you ran any of your long runs throughout the season, feeling better than you did during any of your long runs of the season, and ultimately when you finish, you should hopefully feel better than you did at the end of a lot of your long runs. And within New York City, like Gail said, we meet Mondays and Wednesday nights at 81st Street in Central Park. And Saturdays for our long runs. As you've seen in the emails, this week we're meeting at 8 o'clock at Jackrabbit. We'll do our run, and then we'll return to the store. We try to move the long runs kind of all around the city, partially for your sanity, because at the end of the program, as a beginner, you will have run, I believe it's 484 or 487 miles. If you do all of that on the bridle path in Central Park, I'm amazed. So we'll run kind of all over. We'll start in Brooklyn and Cadman Plaza, run across Brooklyn Bridge all the way up and finish at Riverside Park one day. We'll run 3 New York Roadrunner races, the 2 long training runs, as well as the 18-mile tune-up, which is a great chance to get on the roads in the park, run with a crowd of about 5,000 or 6,000 people, learn how to use water stops, learn about pacing. We'll also run in Riverside Park up to the GW Bridge and back. Our final 20 mile or 22 mile will be an outline of Manhattan. We'll actually run out to the east side of Manhattan, run all the way around the lower tip, come all the way up to almost the GW Bridge, come through Inwood and back to the park. That is literally what you guys will be at in just over 3 months. And for many people, it's scary now, but if you look at even where you are going into Saturday, 8 mile run, how many of you would have thought you could go out and run 8 miles on Saturday 2 weeks ago when we asked you to do 5? So you've already, by next week, you'll have doubled the distance, and it will be the end of June. And we'll also run around, what's the island?
Roosevelt.
Yes, Roosevelt Island, and so we try to move you around a little bit. So if you can't make the practices in Central Park, try to make some of the other ones throughout the season. The coaches are here not only at Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, but we're here all season long. Email tfkcoach@nyrr.org, and we'll get back to you hopefully within about 24 hours. And the other kind of addition for this year is we're doing small breakout groups. Every Monday night, what'll happen is you'll sign up, and I've got the sign up sheet here. I'd recommend doing it before you leave tonight. You'll sign up, and 5 runners on Monday night will do the warm up with the group, and then they'll go out with an individual coach and spend basically an hour and a half with a private coaching session, small group of 5 people. Ideally, you'd bring with you your nutrition log of what you've eaten the last week, your training log of what you've run so far, your life calendar from now until November 4th, and we will literally help you rewrite your plans, find out what you should eat, work on your form, work on your gait, stretching, everything. And it's your chance to get that kind of really one-on-one attention for that practice. So I'd highly recommend you sign up with the sheet. I'll leave it at the table when we finish. And then the last thing is stretching. Stretching will be the bane of your existence, and you will hate it, but it will get you to the finish line healthy. Stretch before your runs, stretch after your runs. Days you're not running, stretch 2 or 3 times. If you're in your office, a lot of the exercises that we use you can actually do while you're in your office. The link has been put in your email, and it's about a 5.5-minute long video with Gail as our model, showing the dynamic stretch routine that we use. The reason we use that, it gets the muscles warmed up, it gets your joints activated, and it gets you ready to go before the run, after the run. It allows everything to kind of cool down, keeping blood flow going, which will allow all your muscles to release basically the junk that's been built up throughout the workout. If you're able to do that, by the end of the season, you'll actually be more flexible, but more importantly, you'll actually be healthy. And if you have any injury concerns that come up, sharp pains, anything, let one of the coaches know, and we'll kind of advise you what to do if that means stop, slow down, or something else. I think that's mine.
Stretching is an interesting thing. As you get into stretching, it really does feel good. Whenever I'm standing at a counter at a store, I'll go into a calf stretch like this. Okay, this is feeling good. Or I'm standing online, I just start swinging my legs. So you can incorporate stretching anywhere you go. If you're sitting at your desk for a long time, I just saw what you were doing with your legs. You probably don't even realize she put her leg out and she was just doing slow circles.
I do it all day.
She does it all day. If you do have tight calves, or you're having problems with your feet, you can get one of those, what are those little arch thing called? You can stick it under your desk and it sort of rolls your foot back and forth. Or if you don't want to buy something, get a tennis ball, anything. If you're having foot injuries, you'll have all these toys underneath your desk, no one will even know, it's great. So just, Troy's gonna stick around, we'll stick around if you have questions, but I just wanna thank you for coming. I wanna thank you for signing up for Team for Kids. We know that you had options, we know that it's gonna be tough fundraising, it's gonna be tough training for marathon. We're so glad you took us as partners because we just love you to death. We know what this means, the commitment, the challenge, and we wanna share it with you. So please, ask us anything, use us, and we're in this together. So, thank you for coming. And grab some healthy snacks on the way out.
Yeah.
Whatever.